Live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to our Gridiron Survivor Project Design Kickoff meeting. I am Shashi. I keep forgetting to introduce myself. I'm a senior UX engineer at Microsoft. And pretty much this project is something that I've seen kind of a missing piece to individuals that graduate boot camps or self-taught and want to create a project that uses a or has a real client and goes through a corporate process, a process that we plan, we build, we review, we take it slow, we do it right, give feedback, and all of that. And so um, I'm hoping that this will garnish these individuals that are looking for opportunities to find that job that they're looking for, and people that are watching, lurking, and all that. Definitely reach out to these individuals. They're really good human beings, but not just that, they are motivated and excited to learn and to grow as engineers and everything else. So the agenda, what I want to do was go and thank our sponsors, and then we only have one presentation today, which is the design, which we're all excited about from Jaina. And then after that, we'll just discuss about anything that we need to wrap up for this project. It's going to be exciting because next week we're going to start creating user stories and kind of building this thing out and kind of seeing it come to life. So. Uh, First things first is I wanted to go to thank our sponsors. The first one we have is Pastel. Carlos, can you tell us a little bit about Pastel?
Yes, Pastel is a streamlined feedback tool for web projects designed for web designers, developers, and agencies. Pastel simplifies the review process, allowing for easy comments and approvals directly on your website through a simple link. Thank you, Pastel, for sponsoring us.
Cool. Thank you for that, Carlos. And Pastel has been a big sponsor of ours for a while, and I love using it for portfolio reviews, project reviews, and all of that. So definitely check them out. Next one we have is Front End Mentor. Mai, can you tell us a little bit about Front End Mentor and what they
I love
offer?
to. Hello, everyone. I'm Mai, one of the engineers on the team. Notice I didn't say I was a designer on the team. Thankfully, Jaina and the product design team is handling our designs. But when I do need some design challenges to work on, I can always look forward to Front End Mentor for some exciting challenges. They have lots of free challenges for you to work on, and you can submit to a team of experts who will provide constructive feedback and helpful tips. In addition, your challenges that you submit, you can also add it to your personal portfolio. So definitely a win-win in my book. So thank you once again to Front End Mentor for sponsoring.
You couldn't have said it any better. That was fantastic. And lastly, we need a hero. We need a hero to tell us all about AppRight. So, Jason, can you be that hero for us?
I will be your hero, Shashi. I will be that hero today. Hey, everybody. I'm Jason. I am an AppRight hero. I'm also one of the front end engineers on the team. What up, team? For the project, not for AppRight, to be clear. AppRight has graciously sponsored us as well. We're going to be using them for the back end, and that's their tagline: "Build like a team of hundreds," allows us to use their open source platform, which is going to give us the database functionality that we need, storage for the product. And I mean, really, anybody that uses this, they have an amazingly robust free tier, can allow you to build any application at scale, own your data, and use preferred coding languages and tools, which I think is a huge asset for the community. They're very involved with the community and this build. The team is great to work with. I would check out their Discord. Again, big thanks to them for helping us out with this.
Thank you very much, Jason. And again, thank you for all the sponsors for this project. We definitely couldn't do it without you, and we're excited to continue to work with you. Awesome. So the next item is we wanted to do a design kickoff. Jaina has taken her time. We've gone through the planning stages and kind of what we want for our MVP, and now we've gotten to the stage of a design kickoff. But number one thing is, what is a design kickoff, right? Because we have Jaina here, I wanted to ask her first, what is usually involved in a design kickoff, and like, can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, design kickoff to me is collaboration. So this is the first time we're getting together and seeing the visual representation and solutions to, the problem at hand. So this is really a forum to start like poking at potential, solutions to get to what we want to achieve. And this should be, a team effort. It's not just, me coming up with everything and saying, this is how it is. This is what you are making. It's, pointing out maybe better ways to do something, and, limitations we have, and starting small. I think that's the name of the game too, is we start, biting off smaller chunks at a time, and then we keep building on. We figure out what works, where we want to enhance, and go from there. So it's not the kitchen sink in the beginning. This is MVP.
Yeah, and I think you brought something up very important is collaboration. Let me move this window real quick. Because a lot of companies I've been to, they don't have a design kickoff at all, right? And some do, some don't. And I think that every team should have it because of the collaboration aspect of it. I've had some teams where they include design along the whole journey, and somewhere it's like, hey, design kickoff, here you go. Design's gone. We're not going to include them. We're just going to move forward without it, right? But that's not what we're going to do. We're going to include design and development along the whole entire process from start to finish. And I think that is a better process, because then we'll conform to the designs and you get to review what we implement. And also along the way, we need to be collaborative, right? If there's certain things where we're like, hey, you know what, like we have a component library and what you designed is a little bit off, we need to be able to communicate and negotiate and discuss. And that way we can move forward together. Because if we're doing everything that one, like a designer or developer is asking for, right, then there's no collaboration. Then it's always like a one-way street. Whereas if we have a bi-directional, then we can build that chemistry and move along and work together. I don't know if you guys can hear my kids, but sorry.
Sounds like they are having a great time right
It is
now.
a party.
This is a work from home kind of ordeal here. Awesome. Any other questions from anybody else about Design Kickoff? How about this? Is this your first ever Design Kickoff?
Yes.
Yes.
This is mine.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, learn along the way. Definitely ask questions. And let's get down to it. All right, Jaina, I'm going to queue up your design. You all ready to see this design?
Dun, dun, dun. I feel like we need music.
Yeah, we need a drum roll or
Well, I
something.
do have music, but it's okay.
So we'll start with this sneak peek at the screens,
Oh.
and then we'll jump over to the less fun design tokens to start.
Okay.
So yeah, this is MVP. Keep in mind, this is like the starting point as to, how
Sorry.
we're going to pull this off, right? So MVP, I'm going to jump around. This is my style. I'm going to jump around in my Figma tabs. That's just what I do. All right, so these are some rough UX flows that I put together after we had gone through and identified what the core features we want to focus on for MVP. And from those, kind of digested them and thought about them and puzzled them together and tried to come up with the most simplified way to pull it off and what pages we need. So that's what in the end, I want to know what pages we need so I know what to design. So we wanted a landing page, a login page, and the users that we're focusing on. So we will have an admin user. We're focusing on the players first, and then a home screen once the player is logged in. So that's what informed, what screens we had to create. And before I get too deep into this, we can jump over to design tokens. So to come up with those screens,
Hey, Jaina, can I ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
What are design tokens?
Design
question.
tokens. They are a set of standard elements. You know, there's so many ways, there's so many little like ways people say things. And I think language is really key when you're working in a team. Development wise, I'm not sure if elements is the right word.
They're
but
variables.
variables. Well, that's what Figma calls them too. So that works.
Yeah.
So these are like colors and type and spacing that are reused throughout a set of designs. So it makes an easy reference for both the designer and the developer. Figma introduced dev mode last summer. So you can enter into dev mode and inspect designs, and you can actually see spacing. So I've set up spacing tokens for, you know, this set of, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is a really robust set of spacing rules that I will apply everywhere. And, you know, it seems really nitpicky, but it's important. Pixel perfect.
Are you?
So this will.
This is all. It looks like this is all tail end based. Are you gonna? I assume we're using tail end.
Yeah, so that's what I had found when I jumped into Shad CN, however we're saying it.
Yep.
I couldn't find the colors. It seemed like they were pulling from Tailwind for all the defaults.
Yep.
And that's where we're starting. You know, we're going default for now, and then we'll start customizing.
Got it.
So this is, you know, the set of heading, H1s, H2, H3, paragraph, you know, table text, list, and then some small text. I've also set up radius tokens, which will give us our nice modern rounded corners, and then full for circle buttons. So yeah, pretty simple. You know, we're starting with like a pretty core set, basic colors, spacing, radius, and text. We could add in animations, those can become tokens. What else, Shashi? There's like surfaces, drop shadows, all sorts of things that can become like standards.
Like it's almost like not the components, but reusable styles and stuff like that go very well with the variables. This is a good, you know, that's definitely a good start because our application is not design heavy, but we are going to use many of these tokens. So in a fashion where you're working on a larger project, the tokens are going to get even larger. There's so many more that you can use. But because our application is not that large or not yet, this is a great start.
Yes, we want to keep it simple for now. You know, the more complex it is, the more it's to keep track of and maintain and name, and you just want to be cognizant of making sure it's scalable too, even in naming. So having enough variety to pull from is something I always keep in mind. And then also, what if I want to add in, 3 pixel spacing? Well, that's kind of tough with this naming, right? So I'm looking at kind of what is this pattern? And they're generally adhering to like, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, keeping, so not going from like 15 to 16. We want to keep consistent patterns, golden ratios type thing.
And again, you're basing these off of Tailwind, correct? Which Shad,
I believe so.
Yep. Uses Tailwind. However you say that UI library.
Shad CN. Go with that.
Shadian.
It's Shad. It will always be Shad. Don't do that.
Shad.
Shad.
Shadison.
Okay. Well, is that enough? I think we could jump in and go through pages.
Yeah, I mean, unless if anybody else has questions about design tokens.
All right, there's plenty of time to collaborate and learn as we dig in on design tokens, like how to look at them and use them and collaborate. It's always an open discussion back and forth between dev and design, and it should be. Okay, so I am proposing we start with dark mode. ShadCN supports both. I'm sure light is default, but just with our app, I think it's really important to go with a more fun visual aesthetic. Dark mode is something that can be hard to sell across in like corporate projects. So it's fun to, have a chance to use it. I'd rather start here. We can add light mode later and support both and system setting preferences, but I think it will be easier to start with one. And I'd like to go with dark. So I'm looking at, go ahead, Shashi.
I was gonna say, can you zoom in more? Because
Yep.
on my screen, I have a smaller screen. Thank you.
All right. So I designed mobile upwards. I'd like to focus on optimizing the mobile experience for the players. I imagine most players are on their phones, making their picks, in a casual setting. So this seems the most convenient. And then we grow from there. And we can add in more fine-tune controls in desktop. So one thing Shashi and I have discussed is the header. We'll get into that in a second. So anyway, let's start with login. This is showing our logo. We have some intro text and then an input form and continue. I'm not quite sure what the flow is yet for logging in and what we're supporting if we're using, Fusion Auth or some other authorization service that has these preset, like I forgot my password and everything else we need to support. So I didn't go and design all of that. I just started with, okay, this is what the input should look like. This is what the button should look like.
Yeah, I think this is a great start because this project isn't a true it's a project, but then it's not like what I'd say is like a day-to-day corporate project where we would then go through individual meetings to meet with you to really fine tune it, right? We're more agile and we're acting more like a startup where it's like, hey, we have enough here, let's get going. We'll come back and adjust these things to adhere to what we're going to build, which then we have a single source of truth. But in order to move fast, we have to kind of just get enough out there and then we'll iterate as we move on.
Exactly. All right, so just playing out different screen sizes, moving up to desktop. And this would be optional, moving into like a 2-column split screen, separating the logo and the text and
I kind of like that.
I love that.
I like it too.
All right. We could do some funny quotes. I really liked Jimmy Fallon one that could rotate through. Who knows? Sky's the limit. Just a fun opportunity here. All right, and that's light mode. We're going to ignore light mode for now. I also am proposing a loading animation potentially. ShadCN supports the skeleton loader, which is like a gradient animation. It kind of fades in, fades out. We can also apply that to content in the app when it's loading. So I think this will be really useful just to enhance the experience and communicate to the user something is happening, if our processes are taking a bit longer.
I think loading screens are super important. I think that was a great touch.
Yeah, I'd like to look at, we're building off React, right, Shashi? Like the
Correct.
React cells, like we can get really fine-tuned with, separate elements. And
I was just going to say that any application needs a loader or a skeleton because we don't know how long, fetching data is going to take sometimes. So sometimes it's fast and loads right away, it's fine. But if we're on mobile, right, you always think about latency and connections and stuff. You might be in a spotty area and you want to get to the app and then it's going to take forever to load. And so to have the skeleton there, then it lets the user know that visually we're doing something. You got to, you're going to have to hold on and wait until something comes up. It's always a good to have when you're working with applications, because same thing with mobile, right? Like we don't consider that, but then mobile, when you're out and about, sometimes it's fast. When you're on desktop, it's super fast. Like you're connected to Wi-Fi or hardwired, and it's always fast. But majority of users nowadays are browsing through their phones, and we have to accommodate for that and build for that. So to have these things like the skeleton or the spinner, whatnot, it's just a nice to have. It's always a good thing to implement.
Yeah, so with MVP, that's what we think about, right? It's like, do we want to make a fun confetti animation, or do we want to focus on the experience and the flow? Like this seems like it has high value. So being very conscious of these decisions we're making, like what to design out, build out first, are pretty key. All right, so jumping in to the weekly picks. This will
Can you
be,
zoom in more, Gina?
yes, I can.
Hey, Shashi, quick question. Are we going to be using magic links for auth? Are we going to be doing the whole login
We
password?
should.
That is up to y'all to decide.
Okay. Well, I mean, the way it's designed right now, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Good catch. That's where I was heading, and then I opted not to even design it out because it's just so dependent on what we come up with as far as like technical limitations. But that would be great. You enter your email, and then you can pick, create account or log in, and then log in with email. Yeah, I think that's where things are heading with login in general, the magic links. All right, so this is our homepage for players. One page for now, that's it. And then in the header, the only action is signing out. Eventually we'll introduce like a hamburger menu here. And then on larger screens, we'd like to do a left-hand nav, but we don't have links right now. So we're gonna keep it really simple. The homepage will be the weekly picks. And one collaborative element of design kickoffs is nothing's final yet. I'm proposing copy, like calling this page your pick sheet, or it could be weekly picks or just pick sheet. Like all those things are up for discussion. This is just a recommendation.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to pass this over to Rudy too, to kind of get his thoughts on like what would feel good for him. Because I can say something, but then he's been through this so many times. He can say, "Oh yeah, weekly picks is probably better for the users that I have." Then we can go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like he knows his audience. He knows the lingo better than we will.
And I do want to speak about the limitations to what you spoke about, like having sign up for now and not having the rest. Like when we think about MVP, right? Minimal viable product. We're just trying to build a proof of concept that we can have the user go through, sign up, sign in, make a pick, and then it will showcase their pick. That's it, pretty much, for the MVP. Because anything in the backend side, like the admin, we can do that manually. We can modify the database manually, all stuff. Obviously, we want to create an admin dashboard, but for this first phase, it's like, let's just get a proof of concept out there so that we have a working model, a working application. Then we'll add on top of that, like an admin dashboard, or like adding leaderboard, right? Or adding all this other stuff and adding AI to it. Like, hey, based on last week's statistics and all this stuff, these things are going to be the best to choose from, right? Or whatever it is. There could be some cool things to do, but all those bells and whistles will come later. We want to take this in a slow and steady pace and build this out in a startup fashion, where we want to get it out quick, iterate, learn, fail fast, and continue to iterate and get better.
Yep. And to that point, it looked like Rudy had multiple, he allowed players to have multiple entries. So we don't have a way to accommodate that
Correct.
yet. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
We're just doing
supported.
one flow, one simple, right?
Yep.
What we call is the happy path, where a user
Yes.
comes in, they can sign up, they can get in, make a pick, shows their pick, done. That's it, right? The
Mhm.
super simple happy path. Then we come and iterate, and now it's like, okay, now there's multiple weeks, multiple picks, and
Mhm.
all of that. And so there's so many more features that we've spoken about too, that we want to implement, but we also have to be conscious and be able to get this out quickly so that we can see what we have. Because as we build this out, we might be like, you know what, we don't want the leaderboard, we want something else, right? Or it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like we need it. Or hey, you know what, we actually need that admin dashboard first before we do the leaderboard by prioritizing. So now we can
Mhm.
prioritize what we want to build first opposed to what we feel we need first, right? So we'll fill the pain points along the way, and then we can prioritize what we're going to do next.
I have a
Exactly.
question. Sorry to interrupt you guys.
What's up?
Have we looked at, and again, if we did,
Oh,
and I apologize if we missed it, but have we looked at any of the other apps for like source material or examples like Yahoo Fantasy
Mhm.
as far as like applicable workflows?
We have. I know. Oh, you know what's funny?
Okay.
Jana, this is the first time you're meeting Chris, Jason, and Karina.
Yeah. Hi, by the way.
I
Hey,
can't
hey,
see
welcome.
you when I'm screen sharing, so I can't see anybody's face.
Oh, okay. But yeah, when we did the planning phase, we did a lot of competitive analysis, and a lot of our team members went through and kind of looked at the competitors and what they were doing and what we wanted to do better. And so Jana has a bunch of these screenshots here. So there's
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of apps out
Oh
there
yeah.
doing it, but
Yeah.
the cool thing is this. Um,
That would be cool.
Gridiron, like when you just type in NFL Survivor, there's not many solutions out there. There are
Yeah.
some, but the niche is small, right? And like obviously Yahoo, ESPN are huge, right? They're gonna take the market, but they don't have a specific like focus on just the NFL survivor pool and all this stuff.
Right.
That's what we're doing. We're saying,
Mhm.
hey, we're gonna focus on this. We want to build something cool for Rudy, but and allow our team to build something that's gonna benefit somebody's use case, and then we'll see where it goes from there. It could be Survivor
Mhm.
now. It could be.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go with fantasy football. That's too much. But like we have these niche, and um that's the good thing is there's not many competitors out there. There are some global competitors and there are some medium-sized competitors, but we feel that we're not per se trying to compete against them. We're still just building this out for Rudy,
Of course.
but at the same time it's nice to have competitors, right? To compare
Mhm.
yourself to be to see how we can do things better, how we can do things the same as well if they're doing things well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that totally that was a great answer. I assumed that you guys did, and really you nailed it. I mean, there isn't anything like this out there. But I think the target demographic, knowing how the other fantasy applications work, will understand like a similar workflow as far as layouts and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure it was
Mhm.
considered.
For
That
sure.
is a great question, and I think we have a lot of room to iterate on that. Like, I would love to hear other opinions, like what is typical in other apps like this. This solution is the easiest in my mind. Like, it's visual. So this is like a button card, and you can make a selection. You can hover. There's a nice like interactive hover, but you click one, and like that's your selection. So it's kind of like a radio. So this feels like an easy way to get started, but we can absolutely look at improving and making this a really fun experience, like Tinder swipe left or right, doing something beyond just a simple true false click, clicking the card. And that's where some of that research might come into play. Like we see something else out there that feels really good and we want to explore that direction. Um, but this is my recommendation with where we could start. it looks visually interesting and fun, and we can get the logos in there just for that like visual landmark aspect. So yeah, this is where we are.
Cool. Can you go to the right so we can see the desktop view a little bit? Yeah. So it just
Yep.
kind of maxes it out, does the team versus the other team, and then you can just choose one of them. Very cool.
Yeah, and again, I just have max width containers for now. Focusing on mobile, making it look good on mobile, and then scaling it up for desktop a bit. I don't want to deviate and do something drastically different for
Mhm.
different screen sizes now. We could someday add in more like fine-tune controls if you're on a
Yeah.
desktop.
I got to be
Uh,
honest. I like the simplicity of it across the board. Like it's
Mhm.
just wildly intuitive. Like nobody that knows about football could look at that and know what to do with it.
Pick one, push a button. You can do it.
Yeah, there's no distractions. It's just
Exactly.
clean and simple, and you're not distracted by the stats on the left or stats on the right or whatever.
Yep. That's what's cool is sometimes simple is best. I don't know if any of you, I mean, some of you have probably used Craigslist, right? It's so simple. It's so like ugly, but it's so simple and it works, right?
hmm
Because it's
Mhm.
so simple, it's to the point. There's no ads and no mumbo jumbo. Like it's just straight to the point. And I feel like a lot of the sports applications out there, there's a lot of stuff happening. You know, like Yahoo and ESPN, they have ads and all that stuff because they do a lot of products, right? So they're gonna try to sell stuff and all that stuff. Whereas us, it's like no, like we're just straight to the point. Just make your pick, and you're through. Like one simple pain point. We did have a good question from Timo Codes. The American fantasy American football. Is there betting involved or just competition? Whose team gets the best results? Um, the betting involved, that's up to the commissioner. Like they can do that if they want. Our platform is not going to handle that. We're just going to handle like results. And how the survivor pool works, it's called the NFL survivor pool, is there are 17 weeks in the NFL, and every week you have to choose a different team and you can't choose the same one. So let's say first week, right? I choose the Ravens and they win. Now I move on. The second week, I choose the Buccaneers, right? I cannot choose the Ravens anymore because I already chose them. So now I can't use them for the rest of the year. Now I choose the Buccaneers. Now if they lose, I'm out. Like the survivor thing is that's how it works. I have to survive um the for the most weeks, right? If I'm the last one standing out of the whole pool, then I win. But if I'm not, I'm out. And also, again, you cannot choose a team that you've chose in previous weeks. So you have to be very strategic about it. That's where like the analytics comes in. Whereas let's say, okay, based on the data we have, the Packers are going to beat the Vikings. A 60% chance, that they're going to win, opposed to the other teams where they may only have 45, 30%, whatever it is, a lower percentage, right? So you might lean that way and choose that team. But then you also have to think about the future too. Maybe that's not the best matchup. Maybe you want to risk it and say, I'm going to choose the Ravens because I think they're going to win, and I'll save the Packers for next week when they play an easier team or a harder team because I know they're a good team, right? So there's some strategic behind that too. I hope that made sense for everybody.
Sort of. I think we'll be learning as we go too.
I
Those
think
are not supported yet.
I think
Like disabling teams, like we'll figure out how to do
what we're
that.
gonna do is have a dry run for everybody to join a survivor pool, and we'll run through it, and then you'll start to kind of understand like the whole ordeal of why this is so interesting and the challenges behind it too. Because yeah, again, I agree. Like just hearing it and not experiencing it, it's like, wait, what? I can't do this, I can't do that, but I can't do this. It's like, what are the rules?
Mhm.
I would love to play devil's advocate a little bit there because I do love how simple the layout is, but it's just as like a person who doesn't really play football, or if I was a diehard football person, I would probably would like to see stats and data to see how each team is doing and stuff. But yeah, but that might overcrowd the page. But I think that would be kind of a cool, maybe a cool thing. I have to look at other competitors' apps, but that would help me pick a selection, pick a team. But I don't know if that
Maybe,
would
sorry, my.
be. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I was kind of as soon as you brought that up, I mean, that could be some sort of a feature we put in where a long press on the team maybe pulls up stats, or it does look more like that, or at least has a record, like just the basic data. But obviously, some sort of a feature where people can access more information might not hurt. I know that they make it so you can, instead of hover or tap, if you hold it down, maybe it routes to a page about the team. But again, all stuff down the road.
We have talked about, I think is it the Vegas odds as like kind of the
Yep.
big one that is referenced.
Mhm.
So we could even do like a feed, connect up. I'm sure they have an API or something, right? And there's a lot that I don't know about, like even home and away. Like I didn't have any of that. I don't actually know what these numbers mean.
That's
So
their
those
record.
are okay. So
Yeah.
those are things I think we'd want to layer in.
Yep.
So for now, the designs are pretty wide open, but there's real estate for different things that we'd want to add in.
I think you
Yeah.
mentioned a hamburger menu too. I mean, it's very easily resolved with just a tab or a page in there that can route to any of the teams, so you can do the research.
And there's with Shadcn, there's a really cool feature for drawers and sheets
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
don't take you to a new page. They kind of do an overlay over and they go back. And that might be like when you click on a card, a drawer could come up from the bottom that shows the stats for that card, and then you unclick it and then select or not select. So there's a lot of cool things we could do there.
They also support, I think they're called popovers. They're sort of like tooltips, but
Oh yeah.
like more robust. You can put more into them. I think that
Yeah.
could be.
They have hover
element.
cards. So Shadcn has hover
Yes,
cards
that
actually
yes.
pulls up a card. I mean, there's a lot of options to display data. So.
There is. Yeah. I mean, this is all great and all, but I want to bring us back to the main goal, right? MVP. Like all these conversations are fantastic to have, and we will continue to push this and make it better, right? But the MVP is we also have to think that, this is just a minimal viable product. We want to get it out there and then we'll make it better. But then having these conversations are good too, because Richard is taking notes and we're going to have those recaps. And then when we have those conversations, we'll bring them back up and say, okay, hey, remember when we talked about this? Now is the time that let's flush this out. Let's make this, let's put some bells and whistles to this, and let's try this out. And a cool thing is that, there's so many ideas being thrown out there, but that's great because we can do A/B testing, right? We can say, okay, 50% of users coming in are going to see this experiment, and the other 50 are going to see this experiment. Let's test this out and see which one performs better. And as we get that data, we can use that data and say, okay, B did better, so we're going to go with that, right? Because as we know, data doesn't lie; it tells the truth. Like as long as we do it correctly and we don't push like certain users to see A and B, and we randomly do it, we'll get good data and understand like what's working, what's not. And that's gonna be the cool thing as we move further. And that's why the MVP is important, because if we don't have anything, we can't do no testing. If we have something, then we can start building those integrations in. We can start doing some user research, right? Where I do want to do you do some focus groups, like some really cool stuff to help us get some data and build our this application up and this project up, and really feeling like like this is like a company where we're trying to make this better for our users. And who knows, hey, you know what, it might just be one day.
Yeah, I think you put it really well, Shashi. It's like you make your bets, right? What decisions you move ahead with, and having the data to back up the bets that you're making, that's the only way to do it. So you don't waste time and effort and energy going in the wrong direction.
Awesome. Anybody have any other comments or questions on the designs?
As far as assets, is everything custom, or are we including like an icon library, or are we using what Shadsi and ship with? I think it's Lucid React. That's the plan.
Good question. I typically use phosphor icons, but I'm sure the Shad CN recommendation is totally fine. Just a robust icon set, that we can play with different weights, like the stroke thicknesses and fills. I'm sure that would be totally fine. I will work on assets for all of the logos. We'll need those in a consistent format with transparent backgrounds. And then I'll have a few versions of the logo file itself. We'll have like a responsive version for showing in the header. And then this would be like a full version, but this is like one shape, like an SVG, that we can then apply maybe the skeleton animation to. So I can provide all of those as assets to start with.
And this Figma can be shared to everybody. That way you can play around with it and whatnot. And I think Gina, you can just give us viewable rights, right? We don't need the editable rights.
I will dig into that. I was just trying to explore dev mode, but this is a free version right now. So to be able to do any of the dev mode inspecting, we'll need to get a seat set up, but I should be able to do a view only. And then with that, you can also comment. So maybe that's a way, we can point out things specifically, like, need this SVG. So lots of great tools built into Figma and all the software we're using. So it'll be fun to learn together.
And if we need custom SVGs or we find one that we want to use, I got a good script that we can use to auto make sprites to pull them in. So it's really easy. So that'll be nice too.
Very cool. I am very excited for this. Any other questions on design before we move on? Any comments? How you feeling?
This is great work, Jana. This is
Heck
awesome.
yeah.
Really exciting for an MVP.
Awesome.
Like, this is really cool. I'm finally just to see a design out here. I'm like, this is happening, y'all.
It's real. It's real.
It's real.
Awesome. I'm gonna flip
go.
to our grid.
Okay,
Jana, thank you for doing a design kickoff. Definitely much needed to get us going. So next steps for everybody that is we're gonna start creating user stories, and I'm gonna start creating them over the weekend so that next week we can get the ground rolling. I'm gonna get kind of a vote of hands if you guys want to do this or not. During Agile, we do points for our tickets and stuff. That way we know how much the effort's going to take, but also for tracking purposes, like for myself, right? I can say, oh, my doesn't have a lot of time, which is fine, but she can only get 3 sprint points done a week. So that means that if this ticket's worth 5, I know it's going to take you 2 weeks, right? But then for Chris, let's say he can do 10 a week. And I'd say, okay, this one is 3, this one's 2, this one's 5. Okay, let me give them all 3 of these. I know it's going to take a week and a half, right? So we could gauge that. I know that we're not full time, but that's how we gauge the velocity of producers, is by the sprint points that you can complete. It also helps us track like KPIs too, right? Key performance indicators of, hey, I'm sorry, Mai, but you're slacking. Like, you said you could do 3, you're going to do 1 right now. Like, what's going on? Like, if you need help, like let me know so I can help, find resources to help you out and all that. And knowing that like this is not full time for anybody, this is more like a casual thing. I totally understand that. But to play that process, we would do like a sprint planning where we bring up the tickets and then you guys vote and say, okay, how long do you think this ticket's going to take, right? Chris says 1, Carlos says 13, Jason says 5, yada yada. Then we get the range. Now we have 1 and 13, and then we discuss. Chris, why is it 1? Carlos, why is it 13? You discuss. Then we vote again, and then we take the average from that, right? If now we get more 5s and 8s, then we say, okay, let's go with the higher one, 8, to keep our, to keep us sane, just in case anything comes up. We'll go with 8. So we do that planning phase until we get all the tickets planned out. Then I will distribute them into the individuals and say, okay, here's your tickets. This is the sprint points and all that stuff. You don't have to adhere to it, but it's a better way to understand and to kind of guesstimate how long these tasks are going to take. Because I bet you anything, a lot of tasks are going to feel like 1. Like, I could do that in an hour. I could do that in an hour. And then you're going like, dang, it took me like 3-4 days to do this and stuff. And so the next time you get better and you say, you know what, I found a very similar ticket to that. I'm going to say an 8 this time so I have some cushion. Because I would rather have you get it done sooner, right? Overestimate, is that right? Overestimate, under deliver. Is that correct? The correct term, Jaina? Overestimate, under deliver.
No, underestimate,
over deliver. Yeah.
And I think high points can also be an indicator of like a ticket being too big. Like
yes,
the scope is too big.
Yeah.
You need to break it down more.
Exactly. So if Carlos is 13, it's like, okay, that's a true 13. Let's split it up so it's smaller. So it's like 3s and 2s and 5s.
Are we using, I mean, I know we have the issues in GitHub. Are we using GitHub to manage all this in their project tool? Or were you going to use Jira? What are you thinking?
Just GitHub. Yeah, it's going to be easier. With Jira, I think we had to purchase a license for that.
No. Yeah.
I don't want to continue to add more things to our list. So Jira is free. It's there. It also integrates well with GitHub and with Vercel and everything, right? So we kind of can just use what we have.
Yep.
And as we get bigger, we can move. We can move it.
I think
to
they do
else,
points in the projects too. So I think you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
One other side note, and this is really important, Shashi.
What's up?
Notice Jason's chair.
Oh,
look at that. Guess who that's from?
Oh my gosh.
Guess who
is
we
that
got?
an autonomous chair?
That is
an autonomous chair.
Let's give them a shout. Autonomous.
Right?
Underscore New York.
There you go. And on top of that, he is an autonomous app-right hero. We need someone out there on the web,
like a trifecta.
We need a theme song for Jason. We need a hero theme song for Jason. So if you're a music artist out there and you see this some point in time, create a hero theme song for Jason. We will play that.
I feel like a wrestler coming out of WrestleMania right now.
Yes. I love it.
That's great. So yeah, my stream is brought to you by AppRight Autonomous and Happy Dad Seltzer.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, look at that.
I had to talk to you about that one. I love Happy Dad. Anywho, let's bring us back. So to recap the meeting, we went over designs from Jaina. Initially looking at all the design tokens, a few of the pages that we have set up forward for our MVP. Next steps are we're going to do some sprint planning. So I'm going to create some user stories and some tasks for next week. We'll get together early next week and we'll do a sprint planning meeting where we're going to come up with how many points we think a ticket's going to take us. From there, then we can start dispersing these tickets to individuals and start working on them. There's already other items that we're working on, like setting up the infrastructure, the server, figuring out the domain and all of that. But this is more for future implementation. Since we have a design now, we could start doing that. And just FYI too, as you're working on these items and you have questions, please ask Jaina. Ask it in the public chat so we all can see it too. And I know Jaina has a full-time job, so she'll get to when she can, and I will always be there too to kind of help out and whatnot. But I am definitely looking forward to the next phase of this project where we start to kind of see things come to life, and hopefully from there on we can do some sprint demos. What are sprint demos? Well, let me answer that for you. Sprint demos are things that you build, right? And you want to demo. It doesn't have to be pushed to the site yet. It could be things you're working on, and you're like, hey, like Richard is building out the storybook documentation tool, right? And he wants to showcase that and kind of be informative and show us what's coming up. That way we are informed of things that are changing and how we're going to document things. That helps us understand as a team what's available, what's not. Then Chris could be could have herself all set up, and he's going to walk us through how the infrastructure is set up, how the CI/CD works, and all of that. So those are great demos. And along the way with those demos, I want like very informative demos so that it can showcase like what you've done, what you've researched, and all of that too. So all those things are coming up. So we'll wait and see kind of what I can come up with this weekend, and then we'll set the next meeting as soon as possible. And for the most part too, we'll try to do these live stream, but because most of us are already working and this is part-time, we could possibly do it offline too, and then just do the sprint demos for live stream. But we will play it by ear and kind of see how things go. How does that sound, everybody? Oh, silence.
I think it sounds great, Shashi. You're doing a great job of running this team, and I think we all appreciate the amount of effort you're putting into this because we know you're working as well and have an entire army of children there.
I do.
So
I almost have a full volleyball team. So awesome. Thank you, everybody. On to the next one, and we'll definitely announce these ahead of time, and we want to continue to stream these out as well, so we can bring some awareness about the project we're building. This is 100% open source as well, which is fantastic. And we'll continue to push out some updates, so look out for those from us. And again, thank you for joining us. On to the next one. Thank you, everybody.